Chapter 10, Miscalculation. The weather had gradually turned cold. Early in the morning when Durua woke up to practice, she no longer wore thin clothes to practice, but Aunt Lu told her to put on a long dress and long pants early. Even though she knew that her body was very good, she did not want to hurt Aunt Lu's concern for her. So early in the morning, she wore a pair of simple light gray exercise pants, a hooded top of the same color, looking light and refreshing and full of spirit. Each move she made, she had already toyed with all the martial arts, and it was as fluent and lively as flowing water in clouds. She took the towel placed beside the chair, wiped the sweat on her face, and nodded her head in satisfaction, finally able to relax and release naturally. As expected, her skills were still in her hands, and she felt a sense of security in her heart. She felt a little comfortable as she entered the house. Aunt Lu saw her enter the house, and brought the breakfast that had been prepared long ago to the dining table. She picked up a small steamed bun, preparing to eat it, when she saw Aunt Lu's expression of wanting to say something but not wanting to say anything. She doubtfully let go of the bun in her hand. "Aunt Lu, do you have something to say to me?" "Ah." Aunt Lu nervously coughed. "No. Nothing, actually there's nothing." Seeing Aunt Lu nervous, her body tense, she thought, could it be that in Aunt Lu's perception, she was really that scary? Helplessly comforted, "Aunt Lu, don't be nervous. If there's anything, tell me. I will definitely help if possible. If not, I can also help you think of a solution." Actually, it wasn't really scary. It was just that sometimes when she was absent-minded, she would exude a noble aura, always making Aunt Lu, who had been poor for half her life, feel a little pressure. Not to mention, Aunt Lu now felt that she had done something wrong. And was even more uneasy. "Actually, it was me who was talking too much that caused trouble." After speaking, she glanced at her like a child. Durua gently nodded, encouraging Aunt Lu to continue. "Didn't I give you a prescription?" Aunt Lu sadly lowered her head. "After I finished a few treatments, my old limbs became quite a lot, then an old friend also had this bad habit, so I gave her the prescription. I heard Tianming say last night, this prescription cannot be spread around." She still thought it was something. Durua looked at the other party's worried, regretful eyes. Her heart couldn't help but soften. She said in a low voice, "Aunt Lu, don't worry, it's not a big deal." "Yes." Aunt Lu saw that Durua was not angry. Her eyes couldn't help but light up. "That friend of mine used it and didn't have the same pain as before." "Haha, that medicine is to reduce the pain of rheumatism. If your friend has rheumatism, of course it will be effective." Durua nodded. "Aunt Lu, you must ask clearly whether the other party has this disease or not. Traditional Chinese medicine focuses on prescribing the right medicine for the right illness. In the future you can't just give medicine to people," she seriously instructed Aunt Lu. "Ah, I know." After finishing speaking, Aunt Lu straightened her back again. "I have rheumatism. Tianming didn't know how many doctors he took me to but couldn't cure me. You just took action, it was over. So powerful, how could you not cure others?" Durua looked at Aunt Lu, not knowing where Aunt Lu's confidence came from. In fact, she was just giving the external effect medicine plus taking the medicine. It did not affect anything else, but because of that, Auntie firmly believed that she was a very powerful Chinese medicine doctor. Rua, is it really okay for your prescription to be passed on?" Aunt Lu began to feel that the prescription was her family's secret medicine, and she made up her mind to retrieve it. She smiled and shook her head. "It doesn't matter." Although it was not appropriate for others to know that she knew medicine now, it was just a prescription, and she didn't save anyone, so the impact wouldn't be big. When she was studying medicine, the family's ancestral teachings were to practice medicine, and doctors were kind-hearted. If she could help others, she wouldn't be unhappy. Besides, this was also a kind of fate, because in the afternoon she wanted to go to lawyer Jiang Shaxian's law office to work. The next time, she didn't have the mood to take care of Aunt Lu. After breakfast, all her energy was put into considering the contract Jiang Shaxian drafted. Even lunch was brought to the study by Aunt Lu. Last night after leaving Chiao's house, she received a call from Jiang Shaoxian. She had asked him to find a property manager before and now he had found one, asking if she could have time to have dinner together. Everyone sat down to discuss a bit. She just happened to not have dinner before leaving Chiao's house, the three of them made an appointment to meet. After Du Rua returned home, she thought for a moment and felt that the property manager was right. She immediately called Jiang Shaoxian and asked him to help her contact the property manager and make an appointment to come to Jiang Shaoxian's office to sign the contract today. Early this morning, she received the bilateral negotiation documents sent by Jiang Shaoxian, which were related to her entire family assets. She couldn't help but carefully consider them. In the afternoon, after reading the morning documents, she stopped to prepare to leave. When she changed clothes, she found that her belly seemed to be quite visible. She gently rubbed her forehead. It was not even 4 months yet, logically it was still not visible. She made up her mind, calmed down and went back to take her pulse at night. She drove all the way to the meeting place. She went up to the 24th floor and asked the receptionist, "Excuse me, is Lawyer Jiang here?" "Hello, do you have an appointment?" The receptionist glanced at her and said politely. Du Rua nodded, "Yes." "Please wait a moment." The receptionist immediately made a phone call. Du Rua clearly felt that when she entered the law office, everyone's eyes were focused on her, and the voices around her became much quieter. She couldn't help but frown slightly. This Shangjing. She didn't know what was said on the phone, but after the receptionist put down the phone, she immediately put on a smiling face. "Please wait a moment. Mr. Jiang will be there soon." Du Rua revealed a smile and said thanks. Miss Du. Jiang Shaoxian really quickly came out from inside. "I'm sorry, I made you wait so long. Please follow me." She followed Jiang Shaoxian into the office and found that the property manager was sitting there. "Hello." Although Wei Zihua had met Du Rua last night, his temperament was different. At this moment, he simply evaluated her in his heart. No wonder she wanted to find someone to manage her assets. Looking at her leisurely demeanor, she really had nothing to do with money. She was more suitable to be a doctor or a scholar. "Hello. I'm sorry, I'm late." She smiled and reached out to shake Wei Zihua's hand. "Not late, I came early, just wanted to chat with Shaoxian." Wei Zihua smiled and explained. Jiang Shaoxian looked at the two people and didn't say anything more. After all, one was his friend, soon to be a colleague, and the other was his boss. If these two people could sign the contract, he would have less work to do. Sure enough, both of them were satisfied with the content of the contract and signed it smoothly. "I'll have to trouble you in the future, Mr. Wei." She signed the final document, shaking hands with her newly appointed private property manager. "No. I should thank Miss Du for giving me the opportunity to get this job." Wei Zihua sincerely thanked her. She smiled, not saying anything more. The next time, Wei Zihua explained to her how he initially planned to manage her investment assets. By the time everything was over, it was already dark. She tactfully declined the invitation to have dinner together. After an afternoon, she felt very tired, thinking to quickly go home, to find out the reason why she was not normal. Standing up to say goodbye, she walked to the door, turned around and said to Jiang Shaoxian, "Lawyer Jiang, thank you. Thank you for taking care of her during this period of time." She knew, if this person hadn't tried his best to help her find it, there wouldn't have been such a quick result. Ah. Jiang Shaoxian knew what this thank you was for, and didn't refuse, directly agreeing. Originally, it was to see Madame Du's favor, but after these past few days of really appreciating this little girl, he could take care of her more as an elder. Seeing the other party's agreement, Du Rua wouldn't say anything more. There were some things to keep in mind, expressed in actions, not just words. After she got home, she hurriedly finished dinner and returned to her room. In the steamy bathroom, she sat in the large bathtub, massaging herself, letting the waves of water hit her body, frowning as she thought about the results of her pulse check. 3 fetuses. She let out a powerless groan, leaning her head on the edge of the bathtub. This was completely out of her expectations. This pulse image really shocked her. No matter how many times she checked her pulse, the pulse image was still showing 3 fetuses. Du Rua thought, in her previous life when she wiped out the child, there was clearly only one. Why did it turn into 3 fetuses in this life? Could it be that in her previous life she did not take good care of her body, causing only one baby to take shape, the other two were too small? Resurrected to this day, she lost her composure, for the first. Until she got into bed, she was still tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. She comforted herself, it was just that one child had turned into 3, her business was profitable, right? She clearly wasn't confused about how many children she had in her previous life, so why couldn't she sleep? There was an indescribable feeling in her heart. No. My belly is growing so fast, I won't be able to hide it anymore. Durua muttered before falling asleep, thinking hazily, if that man finds out, she definitely won't be able to run away.